Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take sources you send us, break them down, and pull out the key info so you can get up to speed fast.
Yep, kind of a shortcut through complex stuff.
Right.
And today we're looking at a specific claim from the source you provided. It tries to connect the Houthis, Benjamin Netanyahu, and recent media coverage.
Exactly. We know listeners want to grasp these complex situations without getting totally overwhelmed.
Right, so our aim here is just to unpack what this particular source is asserting. We're not adding our own views, just laying out the arguments in the source.
Okay, let's get straight into it then. The source title is U.S. Sashai. Apparently that translates more or less to create a scandal.
That title itself definitely gives you a hint about the perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. So what's the core claim here?
Well, the central argument is pretty bold. It claims the Houthis launched a missile, but into an empty area, and crucially, at Netanyahu's request.
At his request. So not just a random act of aggression. The source is suggesting coordination.
That's exactly the implication. A planned event rather than, an independent attack.
Okay, wow. And does the source stop there?
No, it continues. It then asserts that Netanyahu used this very incident, this missile launch, as a basis to issue some kind of threat.
Okay. So the narrative presented is alleged request, launch, then threat, like a sequence.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The source frames it as a sort of, a staged event, almost like a false flag operation, designed for a specific political purpose.
A staged event. That's strong language.
It is, though it's important to mention the source itself, at least in the text we have, doesn't really go into why this coordination might have happened.
Right.
Or provide, concrete evidence for that coordination. It states the claim, but doesn't back it up within this document.
Got it. So a significant allegation, but the why and the proof are sort of left hanging, at least here.
Yeah.
Then the source shifts focus, is that right, to the media?
Yes, exactly. That's a really key part of its argument. It highlights the, quote, intense media coverage that supposedly followed this alleged missile strike.
Intense coverage. So it wasn't just reported, it was everywhere.
That's the picture the source paints, a kind of news saturation where this story dominated the headlines.
And the source sees this media attention as significant, not just normal reporting.
Very significant. It positions this heavy coverage as central to the whole affair, suggesting it was deliberately amplified.
Yeah, amplified. And this amplification, according to the source, had a particular effect on people.
Yes. This is where it talks about ordinary people. Specifically, it mentions those who haven't heard the name Anusi or who lack the ability to analyze.
Anusi. Did the source explain who or what Anusi refers to?
No, it doesn't. That's actually a gap in the source material provided. We're left wondering about that reference.
Okay, so an unexplained term there. But the point the source is making is about people it considers less informed or analytical.
Correct. It argues that this group, because they perhaps lack context or critical analysis skills, are easily swayed by this intense media narrative.
Swayed how?
Well, the language used implies they're essentially manipulated by the coverage of the alleged missile incident and the subsequent threat. Exploited, even.
Right. Manipulation of a vulnerable group in this viewpoint. And all of this, the alleged setup, the threat, the media blitz, leads to a pretty big conclusion in the source.
Oh, definitely. A very broad conclusion. It states that this whole process, this alleged media manipulation, is what allows Netanyahu's government to continue, based on what it calls a 46-year-old deception.
46 years. Wow. So this isn't just about one incident. It's tied into a much, much longer history, according to this source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It frames the recent events as just one manifestation of a deep, decades-long deception propping up the government.
So let's try and connect those dots as the source presents them.
Okay. So the sequence, according to the source, is Step 1, an allegedly staged Houthi missile launch coordinated with Netanyahu. Step 2, Netanyahu uses this as a pretext for a threat. Step 3, the media goes into overdrive, saturating the news. Step 4, this intense coverage manipulates people the source deems less informed or analytical.
Right.
And the ultimate result, the source claims, is that this helps sustain a government founded on a deception going back almost half a century.
It certainly paints a picture of deep distrust, doesn't it? Both towards specific political actions and towards mainstream media reporting.
Absolutely. A profound skepticism is evident throughout the argument presented here.
Okay, so just to summarize for you, the listener, what this specific source argues. It claims the Houthi missile launch was staged by Netanyahu.
who then allegedly use it to make a threat,
Followed by intense media coverage.
which, the source contends, manipulates a public lacking certain information or analytical skills.
And ultimately, this keeps a government in power based on a huge, long-running deception, nearly 50 years old.
That's the core argument presented in this source. It's really crucial to remember. We're just outlining the perspective given in this specific text.
Indeed. Which leads us to maybe a final thought, something for you to consider on your own, separate from this source's claims. How do media narratives generally shape our understanding of complex world events?
Yeah, and what are the potential consequences when very different versions of events circulate and gain traction? Something to mull over.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.